Sponsored ones go production.
All right, guys. Welcome to Alice Uncoded, the podcast where we decode real life story, file by file, rumor by rumor, headline by headline. I am your host, Alice Redpill. Today we are launching our brand new series called Combs Confidential. And it's actually my very first episode on my very first podcast as well. So I'm very excited. We had to start with Diddy, of course. This isn't just the trial. This is the trial, the federal sex trafficking case of Diddy. I grew up around the O.J. Simpson time. I knew how big that trial was. My grandmother watched it gavel to gavel coverage. And I was so jealous. I'd be like, why are you watching O.J. Simpson? And that's exactly how my kids feel right now with the Diddy stuff. So, the media is definitely covering it, but not the way I'm going to. So, we're going to be talking about victim 3. We're going to be talking about pretty much, like I said, everything gavel to gavel. I have got my beautiful paralegal here because I'm not smart
Oh my gosh, stop.
to the legal stuff. So, Alexis, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name's Alexis. I'm so excited to be here and uncode and decode really all of the things with Diddy. It's pretty intense. Already 326 filings as of today within the case filing itself on a federal court website. So it's a little crazy. I am a full-time paralegal for civil defense litigation, and it's been a wild ride. I actually started my career in fashion and entertainment. And now I'm in the legal side, and I've been doing it for about almost 3 years now. And it's been wonderful. And I'm just learning as I go. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
For sure. Me too. I come across some awesome social media influencers and just made some really good friends that just help you, and networking is everything, I believe. And that's kind of how
100%.
we met each other,
Yes.
through kind of Instagram and networking and stuff. So I'm so excited just to have your point of view, especially
Sure.
from like a legal standpoint. I definitely no holds bar. I'm not controlled by any like media
Sure.
outlets, so I kind
Sure.
of have a big mouth.
Yep.
Always have. It's
I
finally
love
come
it.
into good use.
That's how
But
it's
to
supposed to
have,
be.
right? But to have the legal standpoint for our
Yeah.
followers and viewers, listeners to understand is just it's a great opportunity for everybody to learn. And I'm excited with my little bloodhound
Too.
over here, Alexis.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Yes. Yes.
So let's jump into our first segment. I want to go into the jury pool because that has been crazy. It wasn't just like legal prep, it felt like a psychological meltdown.
Yep.
Like the whole thing, we had jurors fainting back in the day when they were teenagers, talking about blowjobs. Then you had
Yep.
this one like this guy that had seemed like a mobster, like his whole family. Like
Yeah.
it was wild. The jury seemed crazy to me. So
Yeah.
what as as a prosecuting lawyer, what do you look for to like kind of hinder the defense a little bit?
Yeah. So again, I'm definitely not an attorney by any means, and anything I say here should not be used as legal advice whatsoever. Is not legal
Yeah.
advice. This is just my thoughts and opinions and feedback based on my own knowledge and experience in the legal field. I think it's quite interesting how they really need to come up with stronger questions. For example, if victim 3 is out of the door, let's say doesn't show up, doesn't testify, whatever, the prosecuting team needs to establish very strong questions to where it's able to convince a jury of why Diddy is guilty,
Yeah.
right? And so they
Right.
they are really looking for, and what sorry, let me pause right there. What was like the main question again? I feel like I'm like blinking. I'll pause right
No,
there.
no, no, you're good. I was just like asking like what the like prosecution team, like what they would like be asking for in jurors, like to question, to like kind of like maybe like hinder the defense?
Got it. Okay. So I think that's a really great question. I think it's quite difficult when you're not in that same courtroom to really say this is exactly what they're going to ask. However, I believe that they are very intelligent enough based on the filings I've been reviewing to create questions that are helpful. Again, this is something they've got to hit really strong and come all out with and really ask those hard-hitting questions. And it really is about execution on how you present them, because again, everything is perspective. So you want to make sure that things are being presented correctly and in your favor when you are on the prosecuting team, for sure. Same with defense. So
Right.
yeah.
So, and then another question I have for you, because this is, I'm sure on everybody's mind. Everybody knows who Diddy is. He's a
Yeah.
mogul. I mean, he's amazing. How do you find an unbiased jury? I mean, we've even seen some of the jurors, they've said, I've witnessed this Cassie video.
Mm-hmm.
I know who he is. One of the jurors, actually, his wife, deposed Diddy in the 1999 shooting trial that he had. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you it's very crazy with technology and the social media that we have. How do you go about
Ah.
finding an unbiased jury?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's almost like, how do you find an unbiased person? Like, that is so not, I mean, we all have our own opinions based on experiences in our own personal lives. We all have our own journey, walk of life journeys where we just develop our own experiences, our own thoughts and feelings towards things. And I read somewhere where it was similar. You know, everyone knows Donald Trump, right? And when he had that case, it was okay, well, how are we going to go about picking a jury or, you know, jurors for this matter? And there was something in that art, it was an NPR article where there was a specialist, a juror specialist, who described and said it's not about whether they like him or not, it's are they able to see it objectively and from a perspective that is really just looking outside of the emotional part of it. That's how I view it, is if someone is able to remove the emotion and look at the facts itself. I mean, it is difficult. It is difficult to be unbiased. It is very difficult. And especially, I think the same thing with judges. I don't know how they really do that. I mean, there's trends with, you know, a judge leaning in a plaintiff's favor or defense favor, you know, it's really
Right?
quite interesting. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this all goes out down with, you know, having this unbiased jury. But it's not about whether or not they like him, similar to Donald Trump, but it's whether or not they can look at this objectively and I would say almost comfortably, because it is going to be a lot of intense things coming up to light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very dark. I mean, we've seen the Cassie video, but if you've done some of the deep diving like I have, there are young victims that have been trafficked
Yep.
for a very long time. I mean, one example, Anna Kane, she was 17 years old when she met Harvey Pierre in a club.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and it just, the lore of I was saying this in one of my substacks, of just Diddy and his presence, and how that can just, like, you just want to go there and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's just why I am thinking to myself, how are they going to be so unbiased? Because I don't
Yeah.
know, like, I don't know if
I
we
know.
all know who he is. I don't know if I could be,
I know.
you know, objectively, you know, and just look. I mean, you have to look at the evidence and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
know it's very important for jurors. They have certain outlines of rules,
Sure.
what this means, you know, what that means. So
Yep.
it's very different from what we probably are even just thinking. So who didn't make the cut and who did make the cut? We've got 12 jurors, 6 alternates, some with legal backgrounds, some who straight up said that they saw Diddy in the hotel video, others who were just quiet enough to survive with their own domestic issues with a family member or themselves. So
Sure.
it's giving kind of like, I can't stay neutral, mixed with like, please don't ask me about the music.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, you know, and the craziest part to me was like the whole HBO thing. The
Yeah.
staffer who almost made it onto the
That's crazy.
jury, like, she works in social media. She worked on the fall of Diddy.
I know.
Now, that would have literally been a PR nightmare waiting to
Yeah.
happen. I
Yeah.
don't understand why she even thought that was going to be an option for her. I don't know if you have watched The Fall of Diddy. Have you seen the documentary on HBO? Okay, yeah.
It's crazy. It's like insane, right? And I'm
It's
almost
no.
wondering, I will say I really respect this judge. This judge seems very like, you know, denied bail, what was it, 3 times, something to that
Yeah.
extent. It was like a $50 million, like something crazy. And he was just like, nope, 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 and no house arrest. Like, nope, you're staying where you're staying. And he's being very tough in that regard. So part of me was like, were they going to allow this person in? Because, you never know, right?
Yeah, you really don't. And that to me though, if they would have let her in, that would have made me suspicious right away. I would have been like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what's the bigger
Yeah.
picture? Because obviously you don't want him in jail because this lady, you can't be objective with
Right.
working on that. That documentary, I think, was one of the most damning of all of the ones that have been released so far. I
Right.
mean, we thought the freak offs were called freak offs, but they're actually called wild king nights instead of freak offs. So like
Crazy.
there were so many things in that documentary from his assistants and um girlfriends and people like that one woman from Vibe magazine, the editor, that she was
That was
afraid of.
insane. Like, I was like, because again, I don't think people understand the totality. This is like decades. We're talking decades here, you know?
Although it goes back, like honestly it goes back to his childhood, and I don't think that people understand that his mother, or the conspiracy is that it's his aunt and it's not really his mother, and they
Right.
stay together, she's part of the freak offs and whatnot, but that's
Sure.
allegations. That's neither here nor there really, because at the end, how he was brought up, it was just, I never met my father, so I can
Mhm.
relate to
Sure.
him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
wanting to know, or if you have like this certain, like, say I never met my mother and she was this amazing dancer, and I felt like this obligation to like live up to this reputation that my mother had. His father had like the gangster mentality reputation. He was a drug dealer, and he got shot and killed. Like there's a lot of rumors, but I believe he was shot and killed because they thought he was an informant. And
Mhm.
having that as that's your dad, that's this gangster, this, like, you have to like live up to this reputation.
Yeah.
So, and his mother knew, I've been reading a lot about his mother and his childhood, and his mother knew that he was kind of a softie. So
Mhm.
she was very hard on him, very, very hard on him. And she kind of made him into the wolf that he was. The
Right.
things that he saw as a child, no child should be seeing.
Sure.
Um, so I'm not making an excuse
Of
for
course.
him, but when you grow up and that's what you're introduced to and what you see,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like my children, I say the F word a lot. I'm terrible. I'm awful, but
Not at
I
all.
say it. You know what I mean? I do,
Yeah.
but like it's just so common for them now. Like
Sure.
that's just like a word. So unfortunately, not my 6-year-old, but my teenager, he drops
Yeah.
it from time to time, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then I think to myself, you do this all the time. This is the example.
Right.
So they
Right.
see and they mimic what they see. So him watching his mother and going and walking into certain rooms and seeing
Sure.
sexual acts being done, like that was the example that he had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really sad that that's just how the ball rolled for him. And I think that
Sure.
that's why he ultimately became who he was, is because of his mother pushing him to be tough, hard for the streets, and then
Sure.
having that, my daddy was a gangster, so I need to keep on
Mhm.
this persona. And once you get with that persona, and then people around you are like, oh, don't mess with him, like
Right.
you can't let that veil come
Mhm.
undone, or else people, I bet you he thought anyways, and his mother taught him to believe, if you let that veil down, people are going to take advantage of you and they're going to
Yes.
take what's yours.
Yes. And it's
So
quite interesting, like reflecting on that, because we see people who have been victims of any type of abuse as a child, right? Or neglect or whatever it may be. And they don't end up like Diddy, right? They choose differently for their
yeah,
life. So this is where it's quite
100%.
interesting, is to see that difference. And with Diddy and his way of growing up, I personally believe, and this is just my thought, is because he was getting away with so many things, one thing after another. And at that point, when you're at that point of power and you're getting away with things, you're just going to keep going to the next level, until it became so out of control, and
Like now.
here we are. Yes. I feel like that's where it really was one of those things of, okay, I've got power. Let me just keep going because I can pay whoever off to not be worried about me and what I'm doing, and, kind of turn a blind eye to it.
Yes.
And I think that's it's a little crazy. And then you get deeper into the celebrity world and you're like, okay, but why was it this way? Why was he connected with this person? Why did his wife, pass, die? And then they get someone, it was, sorry,
Shine.
the what?
Shine. Were you talking about Shine? The one that went to
No,
jail for him?
no, the
Oh,
guy,
okay.
the autopsy, the person who's going to perform another autopsy.
On
Yeah.
who?
His ex-wife.
Oh, on Kim. Yeah, there were two different people that did
Yes.
autopsies on Kim.
And
Yes.
the one that did the second one they wanted, I think did Michael Jackson or something like that. And what he was offed by you. Yeah, he was killed. He was gone. It's
I
like,
believe he did Brittany Murphy as well, and Tom Petty.
yes. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why is like, we all are connecting the dots, but why is nothing changing? And that's what's so frustrating is, really talking about this and talking about, the legal side of it too. I really want to emphasize how important it is just to bring awareness of, even just having a voice in the conversation of trying to make some sort of shift or change. It really just starts with awareness. And
For
I
sure.
don't know why I don't even know where it really started for him to think that these certain things were okay, other than, like you said, he witnessed it as a child, felt like he had to kind of be that tough persona. Totally understand that. Now, I almost question, but why did it just get to this next level? And my assumption, again, is just you get away with things, you're just going to keep going. That's my assumption, at least.
And it is, that is a very great assumption. And to segue into that a little bit, I kind of feel I know why that he is that way. Aside from his childhood, we have to remember that there was the stampede that happened in 1997, the college I think it was Tri-City stampede, or maybe it wasn't Tri-City, the
Crazy. I
college city
remember that.
stampede. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure exactly what it was called, but Heavy D was one of the main performers, because when Puff was in college at Howard University, he was a party promoter, so he was always into the, that
Thrill.
fast-paced celebrity life. He always wanted that. He wanted to
Yeah.
be somebody.
Right.
And that's it's definitely for another podcast, but that's definitely kind of how the Black Boule and the higher ups that have the Black
Sure.
community that have a lot of money, they make you think that's the whole scheme. So he definitely bought into that. But he did make something for himself. I mean, let's be real. But the Howard University, him being a promoter, and then the College City Stampede in New York, uh, that he started getting away with things right then.
Right.
He didn't serve any time for that, and it
Sure.
was his fault. He oversold tickets. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um, and then there was the 99 shooting that involved Shine and J-Lo and his driver. He also got away with that. Shine ended up
Mhm.
taking the fall. There's a lot more like things that are behind that. They say there was like some Santeria practices between Diddy his bodyguard Gene Deal. He told us in a YouTube video that he sacrificed animals before the whole court case went on. So
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah, there was all of that. It was wild. So, and then he got away, with that. And those are just two of the high profile things that we know about. Like how
Sure.
many like little things on the down low did he do that we don't even know about? He's been getting
Right.
away with things for a very long time. So I'm sure when he got arrested this time, like he thought house
I'm-
arrest, easy, no problem.
I
Like,
got
it's
money to
nothing.
pay it off, and this judge is just going to totally be swayed by it, right? And
Because they always have.
right.
So many successful attorneys have an ability to open with statements that like invoke emotion, like
Yes.
really cut you to the core and provide like perspective shifts and stuff, in addition to being prepared and cross-examined. What do you think that Diddy's team is going to have to do to make like to invoke like that hardcore emotion? Because I know I've felt sorry for him a few times, which makes me feel like a freak. But what are they gonna have to do to make us feel like Diddy has a chance? Use his children? Like, what do you think their strategy is gonna be?
My theory, at least, is how we just talked about his childhood. I think they're going to really squeeze that in to really like a lemon, just, and dive really hard into that and how, oh, he was a victim of X, Y, and Z, and flip it on him as being a victim. And, talking about why he didn't do certain things, trying to sway it in a way that while they're providing facts, sure, they could also, depending on, again, it's all about how you execute what you're saying and what you're asking and how the emotion is being evoked. It's very important that while they're hard hitting that emotional deal, they're also giving the facts of what it is. But part of me also wonders, like, okay, are they going to like, what are they really truly going to dive into as well? Like, it's a really legitimate question, because what do you even start with? Right. And I'm kind of curious
Right.
to see where they will start with it. But at least in my theory, at the emotional respect of it, they're going to go back to childhood. That is my theory. But it'll be interesting to see tomorrow what they decide to open with. So
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, childhood, while it is very important and things happen that if you don't get help for them,
right.
definitely come up in your adulthood. I suffer with some of those issues
Sure.
myself, so I'm not, you know what I mean? I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, it's just it's going to be very interesting to try to make him feel like he is the victim of anything. You know what I mean? Because we've
Right.
read and we've heard and seen things, and just his apology video, and it doesn't seem, I mean, he didn't even use Cassie's name. He didn't even say sorry to her.
Yeah.
He just said sorry. So it's just kind of wild to me. I don't know. It's going to be, like you said, interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now this one hit pretty hard. Victim 3, missing, gone. Her lawyer, nobody, just can't find her. She is one of the more important witnesses. Sorry, smoking up. I don't know what's happening. My incense is just like going in my face. Let's put this over here.
I love
Sorry,
it.
it's like really Alice in Wonderland-y in here.
No, but that's the whole point, though.
Exactly, the vibes, Wonderland. I'm taking you to a different realm. So, victim 3, as she's called in the filings, she didn't show up well, she hasn't shown up yet. They said they can't find her. Her lawyer came, and said that she was unavailable for like personal reasons, no details, no timeline, just missing. This feels off, suspect to me. So how bad is this for the prosecution? And is there a way to recover, or are they like just screwed? Like, what's the deal?
Sure. So I do want to hint out how TMZ came out with an article saying that this person, victim 3, never or wanted to be part of this. This was nothing that they wanted to be part of. However, In a court filing from April 29th, 2025, it is stated this was the government that filed this, the prosecution, and said, the government writes in response to the court's April 22nd, 2025 order seeking additional information regarding the use of a pseudonym for victim 3 at the upcoming trial. After conferring with victim 3's counsel, the government understands that victim 3 does not wish to use a pseudonym during her
Yep.
testimony. She doesn't want to. So if she doesn't want to, that tells me right there, or I'm assuming it's a woman. I think that was established. But if this person was not wanting to use a pseudonym, why in the hell would she just be gone all of a sudden? It's to me, by this filing, sounds like this is someone who wanted to be involved and wanted to say, this is who I am, like Cassie is, right? That is my theory, based on this filing. Again, it is very suspect. And again, maybe there was something with the cold feet, right? It could be something where she was
Absolutely
really scared of like, oh my God, if I say anything, what does my life look after that? Do I just continue to keep quiet and live on my current journey and path? There could be multitude of reasons, and we don't know what we don't know. And I'm hopeful that she's safe and okay, of course, or whatever this is. But I'm hopeful that she changes her mind. Again, assuming but I'm hoping she changes her mind and comes forward.
Why do you think that her lawyer is saying like she's unavailable for personal reasons? What's up with that?
I think it definitely sounds like attorney-client confidentiality, like where they're probably having discussions of things that they don't want to say, like why she really doesn't want to show up. So I think the personal reasons is kind of like a easy way of saying, without saying it, just, oh yeah, we're not, involved right now.
Right.
Cutting it off. However, it is, I don't know why all of a sudden this shifted. Again, like I said, it could be so many reasons, right? And so
Yeah,
we just have to be mindful of, again, I know people are going to think, oh, someone offed her, or oh, someone paid her off, or oh, someone did this, but we don't know what we don't know until something is, hard-hitting evidence showing X, Y, and Z. We can, stipulate and figure out. However, again, going back to this filing tells me this person was very willing.
yeah.
So I'm hopeful that they'll change their mind and come forward.
Well, and I'm looking at my papers here too, and she was one of her testimony damning, devastating to Diddy's and his team in his case.
Sure.
So I'm sure she came out with a lot of so word on the streets is that she was one of the first people to come out against Diddy. Now they name her in the docket as victim 3. Cassie, I believe, is victim 1.
I think so too.
And Don Richards of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money is victim 2. Now, victim 3, we don't know her name yet, but one of my followers said that it could be one of his girlfriends, Gina Hun or Gina something with the last name H. I can't remember, but her name is Gina for sure. So I will have to maybe look her up and stuff. They say she might be, but she this victim 3, whoever it is, the testimony was just damning. So
Sure.
I think that's where it raises a lot of speculation on he must have done something, because we know that his cell got raided, in the beginning of his stay at Metropolitan jail. And they found out that he had a cell phone and he was intimidating witnesses. So was she intimidated? Did she get cold feet? That could be a very, very plausible idea for her, or idea of what's happening to victim 3, because Diddy's very powerful, and even behind bars, I don't care what anybody says, he still has connections. He still has sons, he still has people on the outside, so that are very that was a very well operated alleged trafficking ring, just his whole persona. So in my opinion, this is where the prosecution needs to definitely develop an even stronger argument to create stronger questions for the witnesses and for cross-examination.
Yes, yes. And thank you for mentioning, because I was going to say as well, it's really just having that stronger argument. But again, there's so many witnesses. And while victim 3 was a hard-hitting one, it also doesn't mean that there aren't others that are going to do a great job on the stand and really kick ass at it and see through the questioning and give their all without being intimidated. Again, it's very nerve-wracking. I can't even imagine being on the stand. You are a victim and Diddy is right in front of you. And then you've got the defense counsel asking you questions and cross-examining. I mean, that's stressful, because attorneys are very smart at how they, again, execute and ask something. It's like
word things, trip you up, trick you.
Absolutely, because it's just the name of the game, and
They're
so
trying to win.
yeah. And I'm hopeful that these victims also have attorneys that are some sort of counsel they're working with on the side. I don't know if they are, but I'm hopeful some of them I know are, but I'm hopeful some are, and where they can actually practice it. Because at the end of the day, you've got to stay focused on what you're trying to say and not it's removing all emotion from it. And that's so hard as a human. Again, it goes back to the jury and having that unbiased deal. We all are human beings with emotion. And
100%.
It's going to have to be one of those things where you just have to remove it and just focus on the story that you need to get out, speak your truth as beautifully as you can and as clear as you can without feeling tripped up. And if defense counsel asks you a question, I think sometimes, even in general, we feel like we have to respond right away when someone will ask something. And I want to emphasize how important it is for them to just take a moment to think what they're asking. You can take a pause for a second and reflect what they're asking. And I know they will probably, that's the other thing too, is my theory would be, well, she paused while, answering this question. Is this even true? So many things can get twisted. But I believe that a really solid jury will, again, going back to that, seeing it objectively, listening to these witnesses and seeing it for what it is from an outside perspective. It's like you're looking at a bird's eye view. You're looking down into it. And I think the prosecution, I mean, they have a lot for that, going for them, and so again, this missing victim, it could be in 2 different ways. It could be, okay, well, this person was, the prosecution wasn't properly prepared. That could be something that they think, or they would question, why is she all of a sudden gone? And there's all these other witnesses.
Yeah, there's so many. That's the thing that too, I kind of was, everybody's so focused on Cassie. Everybody, and not that her story is not important. I freaking love Cassie. She's beautiful. I loved her. I've been admired her since, I mean, she was one of the only mixed chicks on the screen at the time, besides Beyonce, and I just never connected with her. So when she came out with It Wasn't a Long Way to Go, that's my jam right now. But Me and You, when she came out with that, dancing in the mirror, I was like, this is my jam. This girl is so cool. And then I just saw myself in her, and then I saw that she was dating Diddy, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be this chick and I want to date him too. So which brings me into the surveillance video. Let's talk about that. The one with Diddy in a towel.
Kind of weird, right?
Kathy. Yeah. So I don't know if you have heard of Jonathan Odie.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know much about this person. No, I don't know much.
Okay. So for the listeners too, if you don't know who this is, Jonathan Odie was a man who ended up shooting up the Trump Hotel. And then got arrested. And when the FBI questioned him, and this was 4 years ago, you guys, this, or it could be even 5 now, but he called out the Trump assassination. He talked about the Black Boule, and he also talked about Diddy and how he was his prostitute. Diddy had hired him as his prostitute. Yeah. And he had slept with Cassie while Diddy watched. This FBI agent, if like you guys will have to like link the YouTube video or whatever, but it is infuriating how this FBI agent is just like thinking this guy is crazy. The things that he says now looking back, like everything happened. Everything happened. Everything that I've researched that he talked about in the video, it's 100%. So that blew my mind.
Where is he now?
He is I believe he's still in jail.
Yeah.
So we'll have to,
we'll go back because I'm a little curious about that.
Because there is a video. It's like, it's about 45 minutes long, I believe. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And it's an
Let's definitely link
FBI.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an FBI interrogation video. Like it's legit and stuff. And he talks about how Trump is going to be assassinated and how Diddy was, he's a bad guy and he like hires these male prostitutes to sleep with Kathy and he records them. So he's talking about all of this. And then in this video, the surveillance video, they said that she was running from a freak off or a wild king night or whatever. And in the video, what's the most disturbing to me is, first of all, she runs out barefoot. Like you have to be pretty desperate to run out barefoot, like, and get away.
Right. Yes.
Second, she doesn't seem like in a panic, like in a rush. She's like pressing the buttons, like, so she drugged for sure.
Yeah.
Allegedly is what I think. This is all speculation. This is all what I think. But someone who is, it's kind of contradicting. Someone who's fleeing and running out of there, no shoes, I've just got to go. But then when she's at the elevator, she's kind of just like pressing the buttons like sluggishly and like you don't like see kind of like a sense of urgency from her. So, which obviously the psychological, the drugs and everything that allegedly that they were on is, I'm sure had an effect, but the footage is very powerful.
Yes.
The real question is, how do you think this is going to be used in court?
I mean, there's already been filings of trying to remove it, not have it be admissible, and then, going back and forth on that. And of course, the defense team hired an expert to review the actual type of video. It's quite fascinating, and I'll read it verbatim because it's quite interesting. I've never heard of this kind of expert before. Forensic video technician, an analyst. So they were reviewing, and this person was a New York City police officer, and he served as a patrol officer in the narcotics unit from 1993 to 1997. He was promoted to sergeant, and let's see, after the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001, I was assigned to the Technical Assistant Response Unit. So that unit supports detectives in connection with high-level crimes, such as kidnapping, homicides, police-involved shootings, etc. So it kind of goes into his background of why he's qualified to make this, a quote-unquote opinion, right? And so, and he goes into his training, goes into his experience. It's pretty well out over 22 years of experience of really analyzing these, deals. And when I look at this, I see how he was reviewing, it's like exhibits. Let me see, exhibits like 1 through 4. It's a little intense, but what they were getting at from the most part is how these 4 video files from CNN, they were in response to a defense subpoena, and how they were on May 17th, 2024, depicted a scene from 2 different camera angles of the Intercontinental Hotel in Central City. He said, when I examined the metadata of the news broadcast file, it indicated that the video file had been created using clipchamp.com, a free online video editor. The 3 other videos in exhibit, 1, or it's I through 2, I through 4, 3 single camera view files, which appear to be the source of the news broadcast. So he kind of goes into how and where it was edited and why it was edited, and then also like how it was sped up on CNN, basically getting at how it's not as accurate. It is accurate, but it's not like, again, this is how it is with experts. They are very intelligent and they know when they can spot something that is not correct, they will call it out. And this is valid. This is a fact that CNN did edit this. They are, they're trying to get these files. But again, and there was another one with an iPhone 6 videos, and he was like, insane, right? And you see it for what it is, sped up or not. But yeah,
don't
quite
try
interesting.
to Missy Elliott put it down, flip it, and reverse it. Okay, like
Seriously,
see what's going on.
I know, and I want to read.
Please speed it up. He still kicked her. He still hurt her.
Beautiful. So, so there was an iPhone 6 video that was handheld with varying focus and zoom, recording a fixed camera view, which has the effect of making the action more dramatic. Come on. But these, again, this is very, is it factual? Yeah, that it is. That is a fact on our iPhones or whatever, but he's using it in a way that's, do you see
trying to turn it, like trying to manipulate the situation, like gaslight it almost.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happened, but like not really, because they put it through this thing and this and that and that.
And that's
with a
also
filter.
Yeah, and that's also why no, but that's also why they, I believe that's, in my opinion, that's why they're going back and forth on whether or not this is admissible, because is it legitimate, with it being sped up, like what is the accurate footage, right? And so I know they're kind of going back and forth on that. I need to review some of the documents to see if it is admissible, but I know that some of the court documents like sealed certain exhibits.
Yes, I know it is. I know a version of it is going to be allowed.
Okay, good.
In there, but I'm not sure what exactly, because like you said, there's a sped up version, there's this version, there's that version. So I'm not sure exactly what version is going to be let in.
And just to kind of sum up, in my opinion, again, I am a paralegal. I do not give legal advice. So this is not legal advice, nor should be used as legal advice. These are just my opinions based on my own experience in the field and analyzing different documents and analyzing trials and analyzing how attorneys work, because it is quite fast. It is extremely fascinating. It very much so, and so I believe, everything in life is quite literally perspective. If a defense team is able to convince or have you view the video in a different narrative, they'll test it that way.
Okay.
So it will be interesting how their argument, well, why was he doing that? Why, it's going to be quite interesting to see their turn on it, based on what, they're saying Diddy's, why he did whatever he did, and probably speaking to him during this trial, of course, to get that, I hate to say it, but again, that empathy that we were feeling. He's very good at that.
Oh, yeah. Always has been.
Always. And maybe he was genuine when he asked to go to the bathroom, but again, he will definitely use that to his advantage. Let's backtrack just for a second of how most of his defense team is women. That's a strategy. That is a strategy.
1,000%.
And tell me why.
What you thought about that.
Tell me why one of them is a, Black woman who was a victim of sexual assault. That is a angle. And I hate to say that because it's messed up. It's not okay. But this is how they're doing it, because they will use whatever they can to their advantage to, and again, I work on the defense side for civil litigation in Texas. However, being on the defense side, your job is to defend your client. And it's
Right.
like, as much as you want to get mad at these attorneys and be like, what are you doing? Really just hate on these people. And it's like, but
Right.
that's their job. They didn't do it, but they have to do their job. I just
Yeah.
can't imagine being in that position. But
I
again,
can't either.
yeah. So we'll see how they present it as far as the defense team goes. I'm looking forward to reading, different whoever's in that courtroom, reading their thoughts, especially Emily. She's great. I want to read really her
Right.
on how it was presented. And also I want to point out how important it is with, like facial reactions, how something is said, the nitty gritty of it is it's so crazy how nitty gritty you can get into it.
Oh,
And
for sure.
this is why
One little look
yep,
from somebody on the stand or Diddy that let a juror catches. I mean, I'm a big Law and Order fan. I'm basically like a detective and a lawyer
I
all
love it.
wrapped in one.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know, but like I just no, I just kind of like I don't know, but it's wild to see how just like a one thing and then like
Mhm.
for instance, he just mouthed like I just wrote in a Substack about it. He
Right.
mouthed to one of the reporters in the courtroom like, "How are you doing?" Like a pregnant reporter. What are you doing, sir?
He's trying to do a personal connection. He's trying to make it where you are, like how you and I are having a personal connection here. That's what he's trying to do. Does
Very
that make
manipulative
sense?
though. Yeah,
Yeah, that's who
for
he is.
sure. Because
That
that's who he is.
he knows
But
what
the
he's
thing
doing. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so gross.
Yeah, 100%. But he knows what he's doing. And that's the thing. It's like here he is, saying, "Oh, I could be on house arrest and all this stuff," right? And it's like nothing has changed. He is the same person. He always will be the same person. However, you want to believe that someone can change and
For sure.
become different. I mean, of course. And I mean, we could go on this whole different rabbit hole of even just the celebrity world and how this is backtracked all the way back to Michael Jackson, all the way back before that, and
Oh
Candace
yeah,
made a good connection with, the mafia being involved and things like that. It's quite a scary world, and that could be a whole different episode, but
for sure. It definitely is.
it's there's many factors, and as much as we can speculate and say X, Y, and Z, at the end of the day, the jury is really, they're the ones that kind of hold that fate.
For sure. And to keep yourself like impartial and not like have any emotion to it, like to kind of be like a robot.
Hard.
It's gonna be very hard for them for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of celebrity names,
Yeah.
let's run through the 190 names that the prosecution jurors asked the jurors about. Um, it was wild. There was Kanye West, we had Michael B. Jordan, Kid Cudi, who else we got? Kim Kardashian, Meek Mill, Jaden Smith, like basically Met Gala or like
Just invite the
like
whole
a
Met
crazy
Gala to court.
yeah, or like one of Diddy's parties, like something crazy or a Kardashian party. But
Oh,
why like these to me it's like very important because some of these names could be potential witnesses.
sure.
They could come up in stories. And a few of them already kind of have. I know Kid Cudi for sure. He's involved in the Cassie lawsuit. Um, to a certain extent, they talk about how she was dating a unknown person, and it says in her lawsuit or something like that. And see, this is why I have you on here because I'm like,
I
oh,
love
some
it.
person like this or that. You
No, I
guys
love it.
look it up.
But no, but the thing is it was Kid Cudi, right? Because his car blew up or something. Am I correct on
Yes,
that story?
yes,
Okay.
you are, and he
Okay.
confirmed it as well. He said, like, yes, the things that were Cassie was saying, it
Sure.
is true. So, from a legal perspective, what's the point of screening celebrity names though? Like, is that a strategy or just like a courtroom like cleanup? Because
Yeah.
like a lot of these celebrities, like we're not gonna see them. So like why bring them up? Are they just trying to like pop culture quiz the jury or like what's going on?
Sure. I mean, that could definitely be, in my opinion, an assumption, maybe an advantage to why they are doing that. However, it's just the reality of Diddy's world, of who he was involved with. So it's almost like you will expect a celebrity list. You're going to expect both, normal people that were around him and will come and speak their truth. But the majority of the people are celebrities. That was his whole world. So
Yeah.
I would be interested to see what other witnesses come forward as far as the celebrity list. And wild as it is, I almost wonder with Kanye West, I have a few theories there with him. Part of me thinks he's putting on this quote unquote crazy act, right? Because I think he's extremely intelligent. And part of me wonders if he's doing this to really protect himself, but also call out the stuff that's going on, like with behind the scenes. And it was quite interesting when he released that quote unquote, it was like a song with North's voice on it, and Diddy was on the call. And
Yeah.
how he was like, "Oh, I'm here for your kids," da da da. And then you almost wonder if he were to take the stand, would he flip it?
Yeah, I wonder the same thing because he's been very close with I know King Combs,
Yes,
and like he gifted to them jackets and he was wearing them.
sure.
I believe, yeah, Justin is King Combs. And then or wait, yeah, is it Justin? Yeah, no, because Quincy, they're all like such good looking kids. Like I
It's just
always forget.
God.
And one of the one though that looks exactly, his name is King Combs
Okay,
on his Instagram. He looks exactly like Diddy,
sure.
like
Like, yeah,
same image. Yeah, and then the twins look just like Kim, but mixed with Diddy too. Like it's insanity. And
sure.
then then there's Quincy, and then and I think Quincy is Albie Sure's son. Albie Shore. Not sure.
Okay.
Albie Shore
Yeah,
with
right,
Kim.
right. And that's the thing though with this list is everyone is interconnected. And this
Yes.
the thing,
Deep ties.
deep dive. I mean, really, I mean, when I did a list of, the different attorneys in Hollywood, I mean, they all work with, like, every celebrity has one of those on that list or multiple on that
Hmm.
list.
Right.
It's like these are the people they go to, to support them. And I thought it was quite interesting, and I need to verify this, but I think one of the witnesses or victims is being represented by one of those attorneys on that list. I'll get back to you on that, which I thought was quite interesting because again, you can kind of figure out who that witness may be based on who
Hmm.
it's representing. So you
Right.
kind of like connect the dots. But again, this was his entire world. This celebrity world is what it was. And I find it quite interesting too, how as a society, you take that away from celebrity and just look at the societal part of it, how influenced we were and how much we loved Diddy's music and style and just persona. I mean, that's like normal for people that look up to someone who's,
Oh, yeah.
famous and, rich and famous. And then you zoom out a little bit and then you're like, oh, wait, oh my God, I didn't know about this life. Right. And it's
I
almost like,
didn't know he beat his girlfriend and was keeping
yeah,
her under lock and key, under black box surveillance.
you can't even make this shit up. I'm sorry to say it like that, but
No.
you can't. Like, I couldn't even my wildest dreams make up some of this shit that has went down. And that's heartbreaking. And that's why I'm here to help and to deep dive into this because you want to help in some way,
Right. Just
And
something.
yeah, but I think going back to his kids, I can't imagine what they're going through because part of me wonders,
No.
like, maybe it's a good thing Kanye is around, right? And then you got to question that, and we really don't know. And then obviously he just released a very intense, very crazy song that we don't want to talk about. But again, we don't know.
He hit so hard though. Like
Oh, those beats, his beats
as
are
a
just
black person, half black, half white, like that beat hits hard.
he's he is
But
so
like, what are you doing, sir?
I know, but again, why? I don't know.
Maybe
He's
he's trying
always
to build
been.
up his insanity defense for later on when they call him to something because he's just
Mhm.
as probably guilty.
I mean, wasn't it? I think it was on Candace Owens too. I need to go back and watch that whole episode, but she was saying how there was a text message from his trainer, personal trainer,
Harvey.
how he was saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way, something to that extent. I'm not quoting it
Yeah.
just as that,
No,
but
yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
it was like, what the hell is that? So, okay, maybe if they did quote unquote drug him a little bit, but now he's also in Japan, right? He's still going back and forth.
But he is in Japan right now. And
So you gotta,
he just filed like cease and desist against Kim, like using their daughter North. Like, because
which is interesting, right?
Yeah, she went to the Met Gala, and it's wild. He like is the one way and then another, but that's Kanye, so that's
That
a
is
whole nother.
Kanye. It really is. It is. And part of me also wonders too if it's, I mean, I can tell he loves his kids, and I think
For sure.
he didn't, I don't, when I look at Kanye, I see a human being that is so talented, but I don't think was meant to be part of this celebrity type world because of the
No.
intensity of it. But he's such a
Yeah.
good, but I personally believe he's a good human, and I believe he has really great attributes to him. He is just trying to kind of figure that out now with going through everything.
Yeah.
I know he loves
Or
his
does
kids, you
he
know.
know exactly what he's doing, like you said?
Like who
And
knows?
it could just, yeah, exactly. So I am going to segue into like a little bit more of Diddy's courtroom energy.
Yeah.
I know we touched a little bit on the reporter and how he was like mouthing like how are you and stuff in like the psychological way.
Yeah.
But how about like also like with the judge and him saying that he was like nervous and he needed to go to the bathroom, and him looking all old and with glasses, and um do you think that's also a strategy? Because if they're permitting him to wear street clothes, which I know is for facts, like he can't get hair dye and like he can't, you know what I mean? Like what's going on? Like is that a defense
And
strategy too? Okay.
yeah, and the defense did file something saying he can wear regular clothes throughout trial and not.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was quite interesting. So it could be, yes, he's doing it to obviously look a certain way and be presentable.
Right.
And not, and maybe it is a defense deal too, because how does a jury view someone? Maybe they view them differently based on what they're wearing, right? I mean, sometimes we don't mean to judge, but sometimes we'll, judge someone based on what they're wearing. I mean, that has an effect. And I think that is a strategy they're using. And I think they did like, what is it, like 5 different like types of pants, 5 different types of sweaters that they're going to circulate like trial. And it is, I don't know. I don't know why, other than that is my assumption.
It would be a little different if he was like coming in like different outfits like every time. I think like all these designers, Balenciaga, Gucci, like Dior, all that stuff, if he's coming into like those. But I think if they just like keep it casual with like some sweaters and like how they did like the first day that he walked in there and stuff, it's gonna work out like to their advantage, like completely.
100%.
What's your read on this judge? Like, when we're seeing the courtroom like play out and stuff, like, do you like him? What's the vibe? I know you touched on it a little bit, but like, I love him.
I love him too. I love him. And I'm going to segue into this with the Mark Garagos deal because
perfect. That was up next.
Beautiful. I love it because when I saw that filing of, the attorney general, and then you've got the actual judge, and it was like California versus New York right there.
Right.
In plain sight of like, oh, I'm going to be there for emotional support. Oh, I'm going to, I can just squeeze my way in there. And it's like, no. Like this one, it's New York. Yeah, exactly. One, it's New York. And I like that, quote unquote, this judge is one of those judges like fuck around, find out. Like I really like him on that. But also it really did show the difference. And federal court, again, it doesn't matter what state you're in, federal court does not mess around. They are extremely particular. And one mistake, the judge will get really pissed off. I mean, they are very particular about things.
Can you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you give me a little bit, of the difference between like a federal case and a
Sure.
state case? Because some people like aren't understanding like the severity of one versus the other.
Sure. So with federal cases, normally also there's multiple, it could be that multiple states are involved, certain types of charges, certain types of deals over there. But when it comes to a state and, you know, county district court deal, it's going to be a little bit different, depending on the charge of what or what they're, for example, I work on the civil side. So depending on what they're suing for, you know, what is it that they're suing for? And could it be something based on going through the court system that's district or county? How much are they suing for? It goes also based on that amount of money. That is something else that goes into it. So some cases I recently worked on a case where it was like, why did this ever even go to federal? Why? And they say get removed from federal, but it means adding to federal. It's kind of an interesting term. And it could be because of the different state deal that they had going on, you know?
Right.
But again, it's the amount of money as well. So it's also it's so many factors of like the charges, the money, and I know Diddy has a different state deal, you know, and
Oh, for sure. There's tons of different charges. Like it's not just like that's another thing that people have to remember. It's not just about like this Cassie case and the
yeah.
video of the beating. There's so much more. There's so many. How many dockets did you say that were filed?
So right now we're at 326.
That's what I mean, you guys. Like this isn't just like I said, I love Cassie and I sympathize with her and the rest of the victims, but there are so many out there and there are so many that even haven't said anything. So we just need to keep that in mind too, like going forward. This case, like
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things that I don't even think like we're like everybody, the public want
Yeah,
this so bad. And I think
sure.
once it comes out, we're gonna be like, oh my God, I didn't want to know exactly what was happening because it's gonna get dark. I've been to some dark corners just in this
Yeah.
research about him in general, not even going off on the dots and everything that connects with him.
Yeah.
And it gets very, very dark. This
Yes.
has been centuries. It goes back, it's bloodlines. It's been designed this way
Yep.
for since like the 1800s is where I've gone. Like that's how
Really?
I've
I want
yeah,
to hear
like
more about that.
yeah, just like how like um like the Rothschilds and like just those people, those
Yes.
very prominent people, the Morgans, Rockefellers, they're very prominent people and
Sure.
they like even sleep with their own to keep the bloodline going to keep them rich and to keep them in power.
And it doesn't
So
surprise me. And that's
it
what's the sad part.
it is, and it's gross, and that's why like Diddy, like that's a learned behavior, you guys. That is not something I believe in my heart. You're not born a monster. You're turned into one. Something either happens to you to where you're traumatized
Sure.
or, just or whatever circumstances may be. Some people are able to move through that and not
Sure.
let that be their whole lives. Other people use that as advantage for power. So, and I think that he knew exactly what to do. He was very smart. He was a very good looking man. His mother taught him at a very young age how to manipulate women, how to handle, like how to get that money, by any means necessary. Don't take any shit from anybody. You
It's
are the top
almost
dog, and that's how it goes. So,
right.
I just,
It's
there's,
almost like a survival mechanism. Like you're
yes,
in survival mode
after a while.
24/7. But then also I think, and I can speak from personal experience, I grew up with an alcoholic father and there's this, how to explain this? As a child, you think the chaos is normal. You think the adrenaline is normal. So now, and my 30s, I have obviously reversed that. But there's still a part of me that when I go, for example, dating, you seek the thrill because there's something about it. When your body is giving you that quote unquote high, that's actually your body telling you there's danger present and that you need to hold back. But because you accustomed it to normalcy,
Right.
So you almost
Yeah.
have to question, was it really, most of the time for me, it feels like he was just in this survival mode 24/7 and power mode, both.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he came out with like, I mean, he was very small,
Yes.
very small framed, very skinny. He wasn't very popular. People didn't
Yeah.
like him.
Right.
He
Right.
wasn't like, he begged for people to wait for him to come to the clubs so he could
Right.
go in with the entourage. Like he wasn't a popular person like when he
Sure.
first started out.
Sure.
So having that persona that his mom taught him, you cannot back down. You have to be hard. You have to be tough. The minute you let any sort of
Yeah.
like emotion or any type of like love or feeling in, that is a sign of weakness. And we cannot have weakness because if they see you're weak, they're going to take it all. They're going to take
Yeah.
everything from you. So you cannot be weak.
It's
So that
crazy.
only makes you want to be like, as time goes on, like you said, it's a defense mechanism. You
Sure.
only get harder.
Yep.
So let's talk about Mark Garagos.
Yeah.
What's his daughter's name?
Tenny.
Okay, so Tenny.
Yes.
She is on the prosecution team, right? Or
Defense.
defense? Defense. Oh, okay. So Comey
Mhm.
and her are both on the same team?
No.
Okay, Comey's
Tenny.
on the prosecution.
Yes. Tenny represents Diddy.
Okay, okay. So, um, he tried to insert himself into the legal team without like officially filing, and the DOJ like was not having it. They filed a motion pointing out the violation of local rule 23.1
I
and
love it.
and the judge he was like he's out. So what can you explain like if you know that rule and like what it tells about how tightly like this courtroom is being run by the judge? Like we've mentioned before, he's no nonsense, a little bit of dry sarcasm, but like
Love it.
him telling this high profile lawyer, I mean, I don't know, some of our viewers, listeners, Mark Garagos, he represented Scott Peterson in the Scott Peterson trial. Michael Jackson, he represented Winona Ryder, and he also represented Chris Brown in his trials. So what do you think? Like how like this rule? Tell me
And
about it.
yeah, and really quick, you might know this, but he's also representing the Menendez brothers right now.
Yes, as well. And that's obviously that's an ongoing case right now. Duh,
Yes.
Alice.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to point that out because it's interesting the parallel of how he's working on that team, trying to get them out. And I can see why that could potentially be justified versus not, versus this situation. You kind of look at them, they're totally different.
Oh,
But
for sure.
they're both horrible, but totally different. And Mark Garagos just has all the connections in the world, just like a lot of these other attorneys in Los Angeles. They all know one another. They all work with one another. They all know the different rules. I don't particularly know Rule 23.1. I think that's specific to New York itself.
It
So I'd
is
have to do some
local. It says local rule.
local rule. Okay. I'm going to look into that and get back to you on that because it is
Cool.
quite interesting. But yeah, it sounds like to me, like you said, he improperly was trying to insert himself. And it's federal court. Judge is no nonsense. It's just like, cut the bullshit. We're not doing this. And again, it's just a very California vibe versus a New York vibe.
How do you think he was trying to insert himself? Like what, give me an example of what you think that they were like,
Because, well, for a fact, he was on a podcast recently talking about the case, talking about, I think he also mentioned his daughter being on the, defending him and spewing a lot of things that it's like, that is so conflicting. And that's not something that you do. Right. And
not helping your daughter either.
no, it's very much, shouldn't really be saying much of anything if you're you're defending your client. We all know who Diddy is. Like it's quite interesting. But I think
Right.
the reason too is the fact that there is that obviously close relationship. It's a conflict of interest in my opinion when you've got, a daughter and a dad who are both very prominent attorneys, and one is in New York, one is in California. They all know the different, celebrities and all the different ways to
Yeah.
schmooze and how to get things their way. And,
Right.
so I think it was a very smart thing that the judge was like, But again, I think it's because if you were to boil it all down, it's that's her dad.
Right. You don't see James Comey sitting in the
Yeah.
gallery taking down notes or giving his daughter pointers and stuff like that. So like,
Like, what the hell is
what are
that?
you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are you doing? And that's what I mean. That's another thing that I like to bring up is that this lawyer and then some of these victims that are jumping on or into some of these lawsuits that are making some of them not that like look not good. Some of these lawyers, Ariel Mitchell Kidd, for example, don't like her, shady as fuck.
Right.
I don't I and she's involved in the Ashley Parham lawsuit.
Right. Right.
I don't like it. It seems like there's like these little things that are set up to like um mess with the
Mhm.
trial. And we've got it just makes me so mad because we've got like victims here that are upset and that want justice for what they went through for some of these women like Cassie freaking
Yep.
years of abuse and being drugged and forced to do things that they didn't want to do.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't really like how some of these attorneys seem set up in certain places to
Sure.
either discredit some of the lawsuits. So I'm gonna let you speak a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. And it's really going back to that's their job. As much as we want to be angry at these attorneys and shake them, what are you doing? Why are you representing this person? Do you have any moral value? Right. But they weren't the ones that committed, or alleged crimes. Right. And as much as we want to be upset, again, this is their job. This is what they are supposed to do. They are hired to perform a job. And when you are hired to defend someone, you will do everything. A good lawyer will do everything in their power to defend you at the best of your ability, at the best of their ability. And that does come with some shadiness sometimes. I mean, that's just fact. And again, it's
Right.
all about the psychology and the twisting and the how things are worded, how things are said, and perspective. And so it's very, again, I wanted to be upset, and when I did
Yeah.
briefly email Tenny, and she seems so intelligent and so nice, and it's like, I really think you're cool. And same with Mark Garagos, and it's just like, you have to separate the emotion from the fact that this is their job.
And that's so hard to do. That's why I don't think I could be as much as I would want to be on the jury. I don't think I would be able to do it because I don't think I could separate. I'm such an emotional
I
person.
am too. I am too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
totally.
reading these dockets and these filings and watching the fall of Diddy, watching that documentary. I'm so glad that they broke it down into a few pieces
Yes,
because I don't think I'd be able to digest the whole thing.
100%.
um there's been a few women that have come out that have been that have lied or like there's certain things, and that's also upsetting to me as well because I'm so dedicated into this case and listening to these women's their stories and
Sure.
sympathizing with them. And one in particular was Misha. She had a very powerful story, and it took me a couple days like to digest it. I was gonna do like a Substack, like I was gonna watch the video and then report on it like right away,
Sure, sure.
and I couldn't. Like the things that she described were awful. And then come to find out, I don't know if she lied about all of her story, but
Sure.
she lied about being the girl in the D&G top because I found out later that that was Anna Kane. So I'm like, I spent hours like
Yeah.
researching and trying to like understand your story and sympathizing with you, and then to find out like that some of this is a lie. It's a psychological mind twist on all like
Yes.
everybody who is
Right.
researching the case, involved in the case.
Sure.
So it's really important. um like the celebrity, like they do something to our brain, like it confuses our guilt, it distorts our empathy. We aren't like, we'll defend them to like know, like to the end. Like we don't know them.
And that's the same thing if you look at politics. It's the same exact thing, you know? And I think what's fascinating with that is it's like we are influenced by what we see on TV, on movies, you know, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be. But, and also just music. We like certain music. So we're going to view this person a certain way and just have that kind of attraction towards them because in our minds, we see them as a certain way. We don't
In
know
our lives, they had an impact in our lives, or a certain song or a certain moment. So we
Isn't that
see them
crazy? It's
like
literally, and
Diddy.
I love music. I love music, and I like some of
Same.
Diddy's songs, and I hate to say that, but it's like you feel guilty listening to it, but you're like, I like the music, like, you know, and
I love it.
I know it's like it just sucks that this is such that this industry has become what Jaguar Wright has said. She wants a cruel free industry, you know. I don't, and that shouldn't be that much to ask for. I agree. It's like this is
Yeah.
ridiculous what's been going on because again, it's all the blackmail of coming against each other and leveling up, and it's
And
quite.
it's been designed this way because this person knew that if you film this person, that you could get them to do this, this, and that. And they were taught that by this celebrity industry. And then this young person came in and they were taught, oh, well, if you have parties and you drug people and make them do stuff and film it, you can get them to do whatever you want later because you can use it for blackmail. It's all a learned behavior.
100%.
You know, I stopped to ask myself, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Because this man is like literally accused of horrific things. Things that, like, if it's true, make him a predator. And here I am being like, oh, he wants to go to the bathroom. Oh my God, I feel so bad that he can't go to the bathroom. Or, oh my God, I wonder like what he's doing right now in jail. Is he sitting and thinking about his kids, or is he like why am I like sympathizing with it? You know, he's been in our head, in our playlist, in our ears for years. So it almost felt like my brain softened. But it's like a known psychology or psychological phenomenon, I guess, when someone famous enters in your life and you just like focus like on the things like you were saying, like that feel familiar to you, like the moment you heard Diddy Dirty Money, I'm Coming Home, or the moment you watched Danity Kane come out on TRL on the red car and he was there promoting them. Just like all these like little moments, you know, it's just they all come into one. And I can't help but wonder, like, now, like, I have kids. If Matthew Stafford, I freaking love the Lions. If Matthew Stafford, who was the former quarterback of the Detroit Lions, he's the quarterback of the Rams now. Freaking love his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know them though.
I know
them, like, but I would be like, hell yeah. Even now, I'm almost 40. If she invited me to her box in Arizona to go watch a game,
like no questions asked. Yeah, exactly.
So like that mindset of us, it's just like most of us wouldn't blink if it was a stranger, but because we total hesitation. But a celebrity, famous, because we've seen them dance on stage and sing our favorite songs, they're okay. We don't see what they're doing behind closed doors though.
You know, I think as human beings, we want to believe in the good. I think that's just kind of a natural thing. I think empathy is very natural 100%. And it's actually quite normal and a good thing to have empathy. And empathy can also be learned. I actually learned that empathy can be learned. But with him, it's quite interesting how that works, right? We do feel a sense of empathy towards him naturally. And that was just a natural reaction. It wasn't like a thought. It was just a natural reaction that people had. And you can't get upset with yourself on that. It just shows you that you're human and really I think part of it too is we just cannot stomach and even really, and our brains, I think, comprehend a lot of the things that have happened, because it's just like I said, you can't make it up. Like, you can't make it up. It's just like, it feels like fiction. It just, I don't know, And so
Yeah.
we want to believe that this person is a good human in some aspect, that there is a human inside there that just is screaming for help. We want to believe that.
Because we are, and we're
Yes.
trying to connect with that
Yes.
person, not the monster.
Exactly. That's why I think, what was it when, don't quote me on this, but it's when, people are still in connection with their abusers, because they have this sort of, do you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about there?
Yes, there is a term for that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't wait for like people to like flood the inbox and be like, this is what it's called.
Yes,
When
please do.
sympathize with your yeah, there is a certain term.
Yes.
I know. Alexa, what is it called when you sympathize with your abuser?
From psychcentral.com. Trauma bonding occurs when you feel bonded with or sympathize
Trauma
towards an
bonding?
abusive partner, parent, or friend.
Yeah, trauma bonding is, but I feel that there's another word though.
There's another word, but trauma bonding does play a part, but I know there's like another term for it.
Yeah.
But it's that psychological deal. It's interesting how our brains work like that. And I think honestly, it just goes back to, people say, oh, or someone born evil or good or whatever. And I am with you, where I believe it's learned behavior over time of
Mhm.
we have choices. We have free will as humans. We make choices
Yeah,
based on those
for sure.
experiences. And again, Diddy could have, looked at his childhood and said, this is not what I want for my life, still be
Oh,
successful in the
100%.
industry and be this, god of like a human being, instead of the monster he became. And,
Exactly.
we've seen people
Being
that
a good person.
exactly. We've seen people, in different aspects where they've grown up just terribly, but they chose different for their life, and they chose to
Mhm.
do what's best for them. And they chose, so, and again, I understand the power dynamic. I understand that you get away with things, you just keep going.
Same.
But
No, but
I
even
understand. Yeah.
even in life though, like little, like just like a normal person's life, for instance, I have a family member who was addicted to drugs, very
Sure.
hardcore, and he was a brother, one of three. One of
Wow.
them's very religious.
Yeah.
The other went like just really hard worker and like did his fun and stuff, but like, he wasn't
Yeah.
perfect, but he wasn't as bad as he wasn't as good as the Christian, but he
Right.
wasn't as bad as the one that was doing
Right in
all
the
these
middle.
drugs. Yeah,
Literally.
he's right in the middle. But the person that had been addicted to drugs for a very long time, blamed the father, blamed this and blamed that. And they both, they grew up in the same household. They had very not very different upbringings, but different but similar at the same, because they were
Sure.
brothers. You know what I mean?
Right. And
But,
different timelines of when they were born. Yeah, exactly. Right.
exactly.
Mhm.
But it's very funny to see and hear the excuses from not even just the one who had the problem with drugs.
Yep.
Three of them, the difference, the blaming. They also had an alcoholic mother, and they had a father that wasn't, like, he was really into making money and really just wasn't present. So one chose drugs crazy, and thank God he is doing great. By the grace of God, I'm just so happy for that. It's great now. So we're good on that.
Good.
And then the middle child, he just stayed where he was. And then it's funny, the middle and the oldest don't even, or the middle and the youngest don't talk. The oldest and the youngest don't even really have much to do with the middle anymore. So,
Dang.
like
Okay.
you said, though, I'm just trying to point out circumstances. My husband says this all the time. Like, you can't use that as an excuse. You have to man up and move on.
But no, but it's a great point of how we as humans too, it's like the choices we make, our upbringing really decides on that too. You know, I mean, my sister and I have the same mom, but did we grow up a little bit differently? Technically, yes, because it's a different timeline, different experiences, like age, all that
100%.
stuff. So it is different. But at the end of the day, it's a choice. It's always a choice. It's
is.
always your choice. And it does, and if you want to be the victim in your life, okay, you're not
That's
going
your
to be happy. It's your choice, but you're not going to, but if you decide to say, okay, you know, I want better for my life, and say, I fucked up here, I messed up here, I'm acknowledging it and taking responsibility for it, and I'm here to change it. That
Yes.
is when things start to shift. And it's not easy. It's hard. It's so hard because we want to think
Yeah.
we're pure and good and we don't have any problems, right? But when we sit
Mhm.
there and actually meet, like eye to
Reflect.
eye with it, really reflect with it, and it's you versus you. It's always you versus you. It's never you against anybody else. And again, everyone in your life has a different perspective of how they view you. So how do you view
Sure.
yourself? And that's what's most
Exactly.
important. And how are you contributing to the world? And so, and when you look at yourself, it's tough. It's scary, but
It
the
is.
reward is so beautiful. And it's
For
a
sure.
choice.
And that's what it boils down to, you guys. And I am going to like end this segment with like a famous quote from Michelle Pfeiffer from Dangerous Minds.
Yeah.
There's always a choice. You might not like the choice, like getting on the bus to go to school or not getting on the bus to school, but there's always a choice. There are no victims in this classroom.
I love it. And it's, what is it? It's choose the harder right versus the easier wrong.
Yes, because it's just gonna help you. It's just gonna benefit you in the long run, anyways. Too. Just
Yeah.
And the harder choices is always harder to make, but you learn so much and you feel so much better. It's like the tug of war between logic and empathy,
Sure.
almost. Like when it
Sure.
comes to like someone famous or just yeah, anyone really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I think we forget also, just really quick, how they're human, but we put these humans on a pedestal when, again, they're just like us in regards to being a human being. They weren't born differently, like they're humans like we are.
yeah,
So
exactly. Make mistakes. So, the last thing I want to talk about is Monday. What do we expect for tomorrow? What's your vibe? What are you feeling?
I'm, you know what, it's kind of up to surprise at this point. I mean, I have my
Right.
theories as far as like, okay, maybe they'll open up this way, that way, whatever. Part of me wonders if the defense is going to come off more emotional versus the prosecution being hitting a little bit harder. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that they're gonna go in like full, like you said, childhood. Um, he was because of his childhood, he learned certain things, and
Sure.
then they're gonna also use the drugs as he didn't know what he was doing. He was too like intoxicated or impaired to
Right.
know exactly what was going on. I think they're going to try to discredit witnesses even in opening statements for sure.
100%.
Yeah, that CNN video is really going to, I just think that's going to be something that's huge. If that's allowed in any version of it that's allowed in, is just not going to look good. It doesn't look good. And you
Right.
kicking someone on the ground while they're trying to leave, they're
How
literally
do you,
trying to leave. They don't want to be with you. Why are you
right.
forcing them? And then throwing the vase like a freaking 5-year-old.
Well, and I was going to really quick comment on what you said about Cassie, of how you thought maybe she was drunk because she was, or
Yeah, go for it.
because she was very like slow. Part of me
Lethargic.
else, yeah,
I've been, and I sorry to interrupt you. And the only reason I know that is because, like full discretion to the listeners, I had a really hard partying phase. And I know
okay,
what someone on ecstasy looks like, and I know what someone on ketamine looks like. I never did
yeah,
Tusi, but
all good.
yeah, never did that. But I have taken a drug, or not me, sorry, excuse me. I have had friends that have taken drugs like GHB to where you've had to like they put it in a cap, like a soda cap, and had to
Holy
dose
moly.
it with a syringe. Like
Oh,
that's
can't.
how, yeah. I never got that crazy. I would have though if my husband, if I like wasn't married to my husband and he wasn't around, I totally would have done it. Totally would have done it. So
Thank God for
yeah,
him.
yeah, seriously, he held me back from like,
Yeah,
and
but
he's
it
like,
is
no, we can't do that.
interesting that you say that because you can tell when someone's out of it. But my reaction, my initial reaction was she's trying to be quiet so she's not going to get caught. She's trying to be as small as possible, so to speak,
Yeah.
trying to get out, but not making any noise or craziness going on because she's in fear. So it could be both, or it could just be that, like you said, I mean, there
Yeah.
definitely was many drugs involved in that. And really quickly wanted to mention, just going back to victim 3 really quick. For some reason, I don't know why this popped up in my head, but do you think Jaguar Wright's going to testify?
I do not think she's going to testify just simply because, I mean, unless, okay, the only way she is going to be testifying is if, the Ashley Parham loss, like that whole lawsuit, because
Sure.
that's where she's named.
Okay.
Unless they call her as like a witness to how the industry was at that time, because she was there, like she was because she was a background singer for Jay-Z and the Roots. So unless they call her for this,
Right.
like, you know what I mean, that kind of vibe, I don't think so.
Okay.
um
That was just a
I
side pivot. Sorry, but that was
Yeah,
just
no,
kind of a
no, that's a really
interesting
good
thought.
point because she is mentioned in that. She was
Yeah.
mentioned in the Ashley Parham lawsuit, and but she was only mentioned by the John and Jane Doe, who were the mother and son, who said that they saw and witnessed everything happen to Ashley, but Ashley never mentions them in the lawsuit.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So,
It's
like,
quite interesting. Right. And, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, she's already come out with a lot of stuff too. So,
for sure.
we'll
And I
see.
mean, there's some accounts online right now that are kind of going after her and even like
Yep.
discrediting her a little bit.
100%. Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. I actually follow this one account. Shout out to the Guardians of Galaxy, maybe it's something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but they talk a lot about sex trafficking, child trafficking, things of that
Sure.
nature.
Sure.
Love that account, but they are one of the accounts that have been saying that Jaguar Wright is not exactly who she says she is. They've had some things out there that have been very like, wow, damning and convincing.
Sure.
So that's another thing. Just you really gotta like research and bet like where you're getting your information and stuff. But we're good, guys.
100%.
We're good.
You're good. No, 100%.
Yes, for sure. But so that is basically our episode for the first segment. Diddy our trial starts tomorrow, 9:30. Our opening statements, they're supposed to be there at 9 a.m. He has just got this one line though that he always says in his songs, and he always says, your dreams are fulfilled, you're rocking with the best. Okay, so forget the dream, forget the deposition. You are now rocking with the best.
Yes.
Me, this girl, you're
Yes.
finally listening to her. And this is Combs Confidential, you guys. I don't do silence, I do subpoenas. So keep it here, keep it locked in. And yeah,
We'll
out.
see you next time. Love it.
Bye.